Hi, welcome to another episode of Walking the Path. Today I'm on the exercise path, leaving my mother's apartment and taking a walk during the lockdown. And what I want to talk about on this walk is finding the balance between common sense and control. When we have the balance right, people will capitulate, they will do as they're asked. And when we have the balance out with common sense and control, people tend to rebel. Here's the first example. Look, this little green opposite my mother's apartment where I'm living with her at the moment. It's been closed by the local authority. People used to obviously come here, sit on the benches and enjoy the sunshine, and a few have done that recently, and so they've put up this tape and they've closed it because of people sitting here for a little while rather than walking, exercising. The challenge is, of course, that people are creatures of habit, and the same people that sat there on that nice little bit of green and now sit here on these benches on the concrete because they haven't gone away or changed the habits just because there's some tape up. They simply moved 20 foot. They sit here, even closer together might be added, and certainly not enjoying the nature. And years ago I used to own a disco and I was involved in the sort of the dance scene of the late 80s, early 90s, and the police really didn't like it and they decided they would control it, and they closed many clubs. But of course people are creatures of habit. That didn't stop people from wanting to party. They simply pushed it all underground, and people went to abandoned buildings and arranged parties there, which was a much worse situation because there was absolutely no control in those places, no fire regulation or safety of any type. And they went on all night, and of course actually in many ways it was a much more dangerous situation. And so I have to really think about how we have that balance between what is common sense and how we control people. And it's been the same throughout history. So I'm going to take a fast walk along the path here and check out another example. So here we are then, and I'm at Ventnor Park, Old Park, and it's been closed. You can see the bollard there, and there's a sign saying don't go in because of the virus. Some people are ignoring that and going in, and I've been coming here most days since the lockdown. The last days I've been walking outside rather than going inside because it's been closed. Broke the rules a couple of times. There's a lot of space inside and people can easily be 2 meters apart. Nobody sat down and had a picnic that I've ever seen, but still they've closed it. And what have they done? They've pushed people onto the pavement where it's much more difficult to be 2 meters apart. It just doesn't really make much sense. And so often in history has this been the case, that our leaders ask us to do things that may on the surface appear to be a good idea, but when the rules are not thought through, they're often counterproductive. Here, I'm just coming up to it now, is the war memorial, and from the Great War, and it says that over 100 men from Ventnor died in the Great War. This is the memorial to them here. Maybe 100 people from Ventnor will also die of the coronavirus. It's often said that in the First World War, the men that went over the top of the trenches and charged at the machine guns were lions, but they were led by donkeys. And when the balance was too far out between what was common sense and what was control, and the men were just being made to do mindless things in terms of complying with the orders, they rebelled and they shot their own leaders. Politicians take note. After the war, although some things went back to the way that they were, other things were never the same again. During the war, while the men were away fighting, the women were working the land, the farms and the factories. And when the war ended, they didn't want to go back to just being a housewife and looking after the home. They wanted to have careers, and the men themselves wanted greater freedom, and it led to many changes. And of course, I'm thinking when the virus has passed, some things will go back to normal, but not all things. People will have developed new patterns of behaviour, new beliefs, new attitudes. I think there will be many work people that do not want to go back to the office 9 to 5. And they will have proven the case that you can work effectively online, and there will be strong environmental reasons for people to work online and not necessarily go to the office or travel to the other side of the world to speak at a conference. And I've done so much of that myself over the past 25 years now. Maybe there'll also be a shift in the way that education is viewed, and that there will be a realization within academics that there are many things in life that are important to learn in school, not just being tested on an academic subject, and that really learning about happiness and self-worth and gratitude and contribution are perhaps the most important things that any of us need to learn. Maybe children will revolt and will not want to be tested and pushed in the same way that they were before, because they will have a different appreciation of what's most important in life. Maybe they won't want the homework that's often imposed upon them in the same way that a lot of business people won't want the hours that is expected of them. For those that do, they will. And I think there will be many others that will not want it, and they will not be forced into it. Let's walk a bit further up the path here. So here we are then at Ventnor Botanical Gardens. 22 acres of the most beautiful gardens. The warmest botanical gardens in England, actually. Little sun trap that it is here. And we've got a north cliff and a microclimate, and it is stunningly beautiful. It is open, and you need to pay to go in. And only yesterday I saw two friends that live in the town walking away because they couldn't really afford the £30 membership to have a season ticket to come here. I don't blame the people that operate it for making a profit, and they have reduced their prices from the normal price to a discounted price to help people in this time. And of course they need to survive themselves. It's a commercial run park now. It used to be run by the local authority, and it was free. I used to come here from a child onwards and bring my own children here. And then a few years ago, in the austerity measures, it was acquired by somebody and is now run on a commercial basis, and they started charging people to go in for entry. And at first I thought, what a terrible thing. I remember when it was free, and I thought that for quite some time. And of course, recently I've had a bit of a paradigm shift about that, because they have stayed open. If it was still run by the local authority, I'm sure now it would be closed and there would be signs up saying you can't come in. But they've contacted the local police. The police have said it's okay. It's a very big park, and people can keep their distance and use common sense and get a little bit of balance and nature. A lot of people, of course, have nice gardens and they have space, and a lot of other people do not. I'm really noticing it for myself, because I'm living with my mother to help shield her in this time. She lives in a relatively small apartment. There is no garden, there's not a balcony or those things. And so to be able to come to nature and take my walk here, and take a moment if I want to, rest for a moment, sit for a moment, meditate and contemplate, for me is worth everything in these days to help keep my balance. And I wish that it was made clearer to local authorities how important it is, so that they apply a little bit more common sense and not so heavy on the control. I thank you for watching. I'll be with you again soon with another thought, looking for another path that I can walk within distance of my mother's home, and share some more beliefs for meditation. See you soon. Bye for now.